It's Monday, February 8th. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Head of the World Health Organization, the WHO, Tedros Ghebreyesus, is urging COVID-19 vaccine manufacturers to share their data and technology. He's also calling for countries to share the vaccines acquired with other countries once they have vaccinated their healthcare workers and the most vulnerable in their populations. He was speaking at a recent virtual media briefing. The WHO boss wants manufacturers to scale up production on COVID-19 vaccines.
Last week, Sanofi announced it would make its manufacturing infrastructure available to support production of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. We call on other companies to follow this example. Companies can also issue non-exclusive licenses to allow other producers to manufacture their vaccine, a mechanism that has been used before to expand access to treatments for HIV and hepatitis C. The COVID-19 Technology Access Pool, or CTAP, enables the voluntary licensing of technologies in a non-exclusive and transparent way by providing a platform for developers to share knowledge, intellectual property, and data.
Dr. Ghebreyesus says sharing data and knowledge can help improve and increase production.
Expanding production globally would also make poor countries less dependent on their donations from rich ones.
The WHO head doesn't want the sharing to end there. He is imploring governments to share excess vaccines as well.
The best way to protect the rest of their own population is to share vaccines so other countries can do the same. That's because the longer it takes to vaccinate those most at risk everywhere, the more opportunity we give the virus to mutate and evade vaccines.
He says if the virus is not suppressed worldwide, we could end up at square one. Already, there have been reports of 3 variants of the virus in the UK, Brazil, and South Africa. Within the last week, the island recorded some of its highest daily counts of new COVID-19 cases. Here is the latest clinical management summary from the Health and Wellness Ministry.
Over the past 24 hours, 213 cases were reported. This puts the overall total at 17,298, with 4,435 active cases on record. In the parish breakdown, Kingston and St. Andrew led the way with 70 new cases, followed by St. Catherine with 34 and St. James with 24. 18 cases were reported in St. Elizabeth, 11 in Clarendon, and 10 in Trelawney. St. Anne posted 9 cases, while Portland reported 4. Both Hanover and Westmoreland registered 3 cases, and St. Mary and St. Thomas each reported 2. No deaths were reported over the period. That total remains at 358. 47 persons have recovered from the virus over the period, pushing that tally to 12,318. The total numbers of hospitalizations are 159, with 10 moderately ill patients and 16 critical. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Jamaica's deaf population is said to range from 7,500 to possibly as high as 200,000. Now, more is being done to assist those among us with hearing impairments. Applications are now open for Jamaica Sign Language Level 1 and 2 training course at the Jamaica Association for the Deaf. The course offers 10 hours of real-time instructions, unlimited access to online resources, unlimited hours of facilitated self-study, and access to weekly online tests. For more information, call 876-970-1778-9 or email at learnsign@jamdef.org.jm. 1,600 pounds of ganja has been taken off the streets. The contraband has an estimated street value of $6.4 million. The narcotic was seized on the weekend during an anti-narcotics operation in an unoccupied apartment in St. James. At news time, no one had been arrested. The cops are asking anyone with information that can assist in the investigation to contact the Narcotics Police at 876-923-5729, the police 119 emergency number, Crime Stop at 311, or the nearest police station. Former President of the Court of Appeal, Paul Harrison, passed away on Sunday. He served as president from 2005 to 2007. He was a father of former Contractor General Dirk Harrison. In 2020, the pandemic depressed global oil prices. In 2021, it's projected that oil prices will average just over $50 a barrel, which is more than a 21% rise from 2020 levels. The global rollout of vaccines and fiscal stimulus programs are expected to help the global economy post a stronger than expected recovery from the pandemic. Here are the latest market details from the Business Report host, Gabriel Thompson.
In Monday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 1,178 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 88 stocks, of which 30 advanced, 39 declined, and 19 traded firm. The Junior Market Index advanced by 20 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services, Caribbean Cement Company, and Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, and CAC 2000 9.5% preference shares. Pulse Investments Limited was the volume leader with 2.5 million units, followed by Mailpack Group Limited with 2.2 million units and QWI Investments Limited with over 1.1 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Friday, February 5, ended trading at $148.88. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $118.47. The pound sterling traded for $205.16, and the euro ended trading at $182.43. Oil prices rose on Monday to their highest in just over a year, with Brent nudging past $60 a barrel, boosted by supply cuts among key producers and hopes for further U.S. economic stimulus measures that can boost demand. Brent crude futures rose 69 cents to $60.03 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained 64 cents to $57.49 a barrel. And that does it for the Monday edition of the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
In regional news, 20 people have been arrested for allegedly plotting to kill Haitian President Jovenel Moïse and overthrow his government. President Moïse told reporters recently that the alleged plot began on November 20, but has not provided further details. According to the Associated Press, Supreme Court Judge Ervikel Debasil, who has support of the opposition leaders, is among those arrested. In more regional news, Barbados is to receive 100,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine sometime this week. Barbados Today has the details in this report.
The updates from co-coordinator of the National COVID-19 Vaccination Campaign, Dr. Elizabeth Ferdinand. During a press conference last night on the topic Barbados and the COVID-19 vaccine, Dr. Ferdinand also revealed that a national operation plan is being developed to look at, among other things, where the doses are going to be administered and the teams that will be responsible for doing so.
Right now, our senior health sisters in each of the 9 polyclinics will be the person in charge of each team, and under them they will have other teams. So among that, and looking after little things like syringes and needles and PEPs and that type of thing. Well, we're hoping to have about 30 teams, and each team has about 8 or 9 people in it. So do your mathematics. My brain is a little rusty from that. But so that's 300, 250 people in teams operating out of each of the 9 polyclinics.
What vaccine are we getting?
We are getting an AstraZeneca vaccine. And we're supposed to be getting 100,000 doses.
Frontline workers at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital will be given priority whenever the AstraZeneca vaccine becomes available. Word of this from the QEH's Executive Chairman, Juliet Bino Sutherland, who tells Barbados Today the Ministry of Health and Wellness has not disclosed to hospital officials when the vaccines will arrive on island. But she says plans are being put in place to facilitate the rollout.
We believe we can comfortably immunize the hospital staff over a period of 7 days, and we have developed a tentative schedule of departments, focusing, of course, first on staff members in the isolation centers, accident and emergency room, emergency ambulance service, all of our clinical departments across the length and breadth of the hospital, radiology, radiotherapy. I can go on. Our medicine, surgery. What we will have at the tail end will be persons like myself who are administrative, purely administrative in nature and not patient-facing. So what we've done is a prioritization where we focus first on our frontline workers.
Bino Sutherland says that the hospital's auditorium is currently being set up and preparations are well underway.
We're focusing on 2 things: the logistics of giving vaccines to, at a maximum, 2,367 employees, and we're also using this time to raise awareness and sensitize staff members to provide them more information about the vaccine.
In Trinidad and Tobago, a professor of immunology at the Faculty of Medical Sciences at UWI says vaccination is the island's best way of getting out of the COVID-19 pandemic. During the Ministry of Health's virtual media briefing, the professor says the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine can provide a good level of efficacy against the virus and prevent infections in the majority of citizens. Mahela Joseph Wharton reports.
Professor of Immunology at the Faculty of Medical Sciences at UWI, Professor Michelle Montai, said the efficacy of the vaccine is approximately 80%, but it has prevented hospitalizations to a great extent. She said the vaccine has the potential to decrease transmission.
We know this because when they were doing the trials with these vaccines, in the group that were vaccinated, in the group that were not vaccinated, they asked them to take nasal swabs every week, and they checked to see whether there were virus in these nasal swabs. And what they found was that the 67% less patients in the vaccinated group had any evidence of virus in their noses.
She said presently Israel is leading the way when it comes to the vaccination of a population. Israel has vaccinated over 90% of its population, 60 years and over, using the Pfizer vaccine.
And what they have been able to tell us is that the number of infections following vaccination in this population has just dropped precipitously. So that's very good news. And there are very few hospitalizations in this population, and the number of actual infections seems to be very low.
Professor Montai said vaccination would provide a good level of immunity against SARS-CoV-2 and less transmission of the virus from person to person. Speaking on her experience in administering vaccines was Senior District Health Visitor in the public health sector, Nurse Penny Ramlagan. She said she has never witnessed severe side effects from vaccines.
Most persons get mixed up basically with side effects. I would say that, when you are vaccinated, we expect a response, an immunological response. So most patients will get fever, they may get sometimes irritation at the site, And those are things we expect, especially the fever, because it tells us that you are building an immunological response.
In her over 10 years of experience, she said it is evident that vaccination has made a significant impact in allowing Trinidad and Tobago and other countries to receive optimal health. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TTT News.
Guyana's decision to terminate an agreement with Taiwan for the establishment of a Taiwan office in the country less than 24 hours after the agreement was announced may have sparked another war of words between Taiwan and People's Republic of China. More in this report.
And now Taiwan is accusing China of bullying Guyana. Taiwan, which was excited about the agreement signed back in January, is now accusing China of bullying Guyana into terminating the agreement. China sees Taiwan as a breakaway province and maintains that the island is part of its territory. In a statement issued today, the Taiwanese Foreign Ministry expressed its grave disappointment over the termination of the agreement. According to Taiwan, the government of Guyana is holding on to its position despite multiple efforts to change its mind. Taiwan said Guyana's position to terminate the agreement came after pressure from the Chinese government. Taiwan condemned the Chinese government for what it called resorting again to bullying tactics to suppress Taiwan's international presence and deny the Taiwanese people the right to participate in international affairs. The statement from the Taiwan Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the Chinese government's relentless efforts to isolate Taiwan in the international arena contradict its leader's recent declaration that the strong should not bully the weak. Other than a one-paragraph press statement which announced the termination of the agreement, the Guyana government has been silent on the embarrassing issue. Although the agreement between Guyana and Taiwan was signed since the 11th of January and the Taiwan office went into operation 4 days later, it was the U.S. government in a tweet that announced the agreement, which it welcomed. The Guyana Minister of Foreign Affairs initially claimed that China was made aware of the agreement. However, the morning after the agreement was announced, the Chinese government dispatched its acting ambassador to meet with the Foreign Affairs Minister, who expressed China's objection and disappointment over the agreement. News source understands that a Chinese embassy official dispatched a direct message from the Chinese president and also highlighted the consequences that Guyana could face if it held on to the agreement. Moments after the meeting concluded, the Guyana government announced the termination of the agreement with Taiwan. The opposition APNU-AFC has bashed the Guyana government for even considering the signing of the agreement, since for decades Guyana has maintained good relations with China and has observed the One China policy. The opposition believes that the Guyana government's decision may have caused some harm to the Guyana-China relationship.
In sports, we bowl off with cricket. The West Indies are still basking in the afterglow of a stunning victory over hosts Bangladesh on Sunday. The Caribbean team chased 395 runs to win the first test match by 3 wickets. Leading the charge was debutant Kyle Myers, who scored a stunning double hundred. Myers hit an unbeaten 210 from 310 balls with 24s and 7 sixes to guide his side to 395 for 7 with 9 balls left in the final day. Myers was ably supported by fellow debutant Nkrumah Bonner, who hit a brilliant 86. This crop of Windies players have been dubbed the B team after most of their first-choice players opted out of the Bangladesh tour because of the novel coronavirus pandemic. The West Indies has now beaten the best run chase in Asia, set by Sri Lanka, who hit 388 to beat Zimbabwe by 4 wickets in Colombo back in 2017. The second and final test will start in Dhaka on February 11. And that's all we have for you today. Join us here tomorrow for the news on PBCJ, the People's Station.